Okay, Rune, so here's what I did on this problem. Here's that first one that you were asking me about with the three different equations with the three variables. So I took both the first and second equation and I added them together, which is right here. And I did that because I was able to get rid of the y values. So when I added those two equations together, I ended up with 10x, and my y's go away, plus 2z equals negative 16. So I'm going to save this equation because I'm going to come back and use it again. But then the next thing I had to do is I have to try and deal with this third equation, and I noticed I couldn't get rid of anything very easily, so I multiplied this second. So now I'm looking at the second and third equation, right, and I'm ignoring the first one. So that's going to be down here. So I took the second original equation and multiplied everything times 2, because then I was also able to get rid of my y values, and I needed to get rid of the y's because that's what I got rid of up in this when I added the first two equations together. So when I did that, I got 14x minus 4y plus 10z equals negative 28. So then I could add that to the third equation, which ended up giving me 16x plus 11z equals negative 22. And I'm going to use this equation again, so I just did some simplification. And so now these two equations that I just came up with are going to be what I'm working with for my system. So I end up with 10x plus 2z equals negative 16, and 16x plus 11z equals negative 22, which none of them get rid of anything very nicely. I worked to get rid of the z's just because the numbers were smaller than the x's. It really doesn't matter at this point. So I multiplied the entire top equation by 11, which gave me 110x plus 22z equals negative 176, and I multiplied the entire bottom equation by a negative 2, and I used a negative 2 because I need one of these numbers to be positive and one to be negative in order to get rid of the z. So I ended up with negative 32x minus 22z equals 44. So then I can add these two equations together, which ended up giving me 78x equals a negative 132. Then to get my x by itself, I of course divide by that 78, which this fraction simplifies to right here. So this negative 22/13. So then I can take this and put it back into as x in one of these equations. I would probably pick the top one because I multiply by 10 and I like multiplying by 10. Solve for my z. Once I have my x and my z, I can go back to an original equation and solve for my y. So the first step when I have these three different equations is I want to try and simplify it and get it down to just dealing with two equations, and then I can do the steps that I've already known. So the other problem that you sent me is going to be very similar to this one. You're going to pick your two that you want to get rid of first and then try and deal with those. If it's still not making sense, shoot me another email and we'll figure that one out as well.